In the family circus cartoon, little girl is sitting by her baby brother and begins to tell him the Christmas story. It goes something like this, she says. Jesus was born just in time for Christmas up at the North Pole, surrounded by 8 tiny reindeer and the Virgin Mary. Then Santa Claus showed up with lots of toys, some swaddling clothes and stuff. And then the 3 wise men and the elves all sang carols, and the little drummer boy played, and Scrooge helped Joseph trim the tree. And in the meantime, Frosty the Snowman saw this star. Thus concludeth the reading from the family circus. We get a little confused about Christmas at times, don't we? Is it about Santa and the elves? Or Jesus in a manger? Is it secular or religious? Or has it become a religion all its own? Please don't misunderstand. I'm not saying that we should throw out the baby with the bathwater, no pun intended. I'm not suggesting that we abandon gift giving altogether at Christmas. I'm not suggesting that we put up no Santa signs on our lawns, although I am strictly opposed to the big blow-up inflatable Santas that some people consider to be genuine Christmas decorations. I'm not suggesting that we stop celebrating Christmas with gift giving. But friends, I am suggesting, I am imploring you that we need to gain some sanity. We need to get our minds back, our spirits back. We need to find the original meaning of Christmas once again in this country. I mean, aren't you sick and tired of malls putting up Christmas decorations before they barely get the Halloween stuff put away? Now, I realize that there are not that many captivating Thanksgiving decorations. I mean, how many pumpkins, fall-colored leaves, and turkeys can one stand when it comes to proper decor, after all? But can't we have just a little time to catch our breath in between Halloween and the gift-giving frenzy that has become Christmas in the Western world? Talked this morning in our small group, 450 billion with a B, spent on Christmas in the United States alone each year. That's not for a decade or 100 years, each and every year, $450 billion. And it takes 5,000 to drill a well. So how do we make this transition? How do we become people of the Advent conspiracy? How do we make Christmas more of a countercultural thing than what it's become today? How do we go from being all worked up at the mall to worshiping at the manger? Perhaps we can learn a lesson from the scriptures and the wise men. Passage this morning is from Matthew chapter 2. You'll find it in your outline. You can follow along in your Bibles. I'm reading from the New Living Translation. Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem asking, "Where's the newborn king of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this, as was everyone else in Jerusalem. He called a meeting of the leading priests and teachers of religious law, and he said, Where's Messiah supposed to be born anyway? "In Bethlehem of Judea," they said, "for this is what the prophet wrote. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not least among the ruling cities of Judah, for a ruler will come from you, who will be the shepherd for my people Israel. Then Herod called for a private meeting with the wise men, and he learned from them the time when the star first appeared. Then he said, go to Bethlehem and search carefully for the child, and when you find him, come back and tell me so that I can go and worship him too. After this interview, the wise men went on their way, and the star they had seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them and stopped over the place where the child was. And when they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and they worshiped him. They opened their treasure chests, and they gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And when it was time to leave, they returned to their own country by another route, for God had warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. The Romans appointed Herod king in about 37 BC. Historians agree that in many respects, Herod was a very successful king. He was ethnically an Arab, but a practicing Jew. The Jewish authorities referred to him as a half-breed Jew, half Arab. But he increased the land governed as Judea from Palestine to Jordan, Lebanon, Syria. So wonderful was his reign, in fact, that people called him Herodes Maximus, Herod the Great. The Romans also gave him the title King of the Jews because he was appointed King of Judea, politically at least. The title King of the Jews begins to explain the understanding that we have of Herod from the Bible. The Bible shapes this popular conception that we now have as Herod, who was a king, was proud of his title and would do anything to keep it. 8 miles south of Jerusalem is a city called Herodium. It's one of the grand architectural creations of Herod the Great, king of Judea. He raised this low hill into a towering memorial of stonework to himself, surrounded it with pleasure palaces, splashing pools, and terraced gardens. He was astute, generous, a brilliant military leader, one of the most imaginative and energetic builders of the ancient world, and he girded his kingdom with military power and prosperity. And yet today, Herod is best known as the sly, murderous monarch of Matthew's gospel who slaughtered every male infant in Bethlehem in an unsuccessful attempt to kill the newborn king. During the Middle Ages, Herod was so demonized that he was pictured in medieval art as the Antichrist, complete with horns and a pitchfork, the devil whispering in his ear. Herod was ruthless. He killed hundreds, if not thousands, including 3 of his own sons, his wife, his mother-in-law, all in an attempt to maintain his power. Throughout his life, he blended this creativity and cruelty, harmony and chaos in ways that challenge us today. We couldn't think of that kind of cruelty or that kind of imagination coming from one guy. His court was a hotbed of both Hellenistic and Roman culture. Greek and Roman worlds met in his court. He was a political genius, was Herod. He gathered around him scholars and poets and sculptors and painters and architects from the east and from the west. And he gave with kingly generosity to the extent that in Greece they named him president of the Olympic Games of that day and time. He undertook building projects of remarkable scope, ambition, creativity. The coast of Judea lacked its own harbor, and so Herod invented a way for them to create a harbor out of sheer rock faces.